Well, hello friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado, where I separate the truth from bullshit, facts from fiction in plain English. A couple of months ago, I did a first episode on a series dealing with the Fair Practices Commission and my investigation into the organization and what it does, what it doesn't do, and what it represents for injured workers. So I'm here today with another episode. Most likely the last of this series, but I do have certain insights to offer to you, and then you can do what you will with it. Okay, so without further delay, let's get at it. And we're back. So when I started this investigation and expose into the Fair Practices Commission, I wanted to delve into it a little bit more. I've been aware of them since 2004 when they first opened their doors. At that point, I had already been in business for well over a decade, dealing with WSIB claims. Didn't really pay much attention to them back then. I didn't think that there was much need for them. I didn't think that they had a useful purpose. Based on what I read about the organization and what it was intended for. And I thought it was going to be a waste of time for injured workers. I thought it was going to be another delay in the process of getting justice. So I really didn't investigate or send any referrals there over the years. We pretty much handled our cases and represented thousands of injured workers all across the province without ever really requiring the need of the commission. But given the mandate of my mission, the mission of my channel, which is to provide as much information as I can, as accurate as I can, to my viewers to help them decide whether or not there are other avenues that they can use that are available to help with their WSIB issues. And so I felt that I owed it to them and that to be impartial, to provide that information through my channel. And hopefully my viewers will be able to determine whether or not it is worthwhile to have their issues or to file a complaint with the Fair Practices Commission, to have them help with their case. What I've discovered in the past couple of months since I delved into this and I've done the research, I've gone back over their annual statements over the last 19 years. I wanted to be as accurate as possible with the information that I'm providing. And most of the information that I am providing is available actually on their website. You can get their annual statements or annual reports from 2004 to they're up to 2023. There's a lot of information there about what their mandate is and how they conduct business. And some of it I found useful, other information I found to be rather, useless, I would say. Because if you're promoting to be able to provide support for injured workers, and you reject so many of the requests that are made because they don't fall under your mandate, I have a problem with that. And I shared that with the commissioner of the Fair Practices Commission. And I'll talk a little bit about that in this episode. So let's start with what the Commission stands for, what they promote as being their mandate in terms of the injured worker group. They do provide some services for employers and other stakeholders, but that represents about 5% of the requests for help. It's very minimal, to actually negligible, really. So the major demographic group that they claim to support are injured workers. I did put this up when I did my first episode on this, but I'm going to put it up again because I think it's worth remembering so that I can cover my synopsis and my views on what I've discovered about whether I believe that this organization is actually in a position to help injured workers. So how they consider their mandate. So basically they state the Commission relies on these 4 benchmarks to help decide if your complaint raises a fairness issue the Commission can look into. And they talk a lot about a fairness issue in all of their annual reports. So the first one is a delay. Was there an unreasonable delay in taking action or in making a decision? Was the affected party informed of the delay and the reasons for it? Was correspondence answered or were calls returned in a timely fashion? So these 4 are applicable to the WSIB. So they're talking about the WSIB. Number 2, communication. Was the decision or action communicated clearly? Were reasons provided to those affected? Did staff explain what the decision was based on? Were next steps or options explained? Number 3, behavior. Was the staff unbiased and objective when reviewing information? Was the staff courteous and professional? Were mistakes acknowledged and apologies offered? And number 4, decision-making process. Did the person affected by the decision or action know it would happen? Did the person have input or an opportunity to correct or respond to information? Was relevant information overlooked? Is there a policy or guideline related to the matter? If so, was it applied in a manner consistent with how it was applied in similar matters? I'm certain that most of you watching this episode have experienced at least one of those 4 issues in how your WSIB claim has been handled. Quite possibly all 4 of those issues. And does the Commission proceed to act on requests for service that are made based on those 4 issues? Well, they always talk about numbers in their annual reports. They like to, portray all of these different stats. They include everything from their operating budget and where that money goes, which I have an issue with that as well. I'm going to talk about that. But let's just look at, for a moment, at the number of requests that they've had to address over the past 19 years. So in 2004, it started with 1,218 requests. Then it went to 1,633, then 1,957, then 1,833. So by 2013, it was 1,924. So by 2018, it was 2,663. And by their last numbers in 2023, it was 1,890. So the numbers have fluctuated up and down a little bit, but they've pretty much remained consistent. What does that amount to? Well, that's over 39,000 requests over the last 19 years. That's 39,000. This is according to their 2023 annual report. And the commissioner in the report, Ronan O'Leary, who's the commissioner, stated in the report. In 2023, we received 1,890 complaints, an 11% increase from the previous year. Of the complaints in which we made inquiries, we identified 267 fairness issues that the WSIB then resolved. What they portray by fairness issues is the issues that they actually addressed. So going back to the previous statement that he made, they looked at over 39,000 in the last 19 years, and they identified more than 5,000 fairness issues. So 5,000 fairness issues in 39,000, that is approximately 12.9% of the cases that they actually addressed or did something about. So my question is, what happened to the other 34,000? It seems a little ominous that they didn't meet one of those four benchmarks that the commission has set for itself to determine whether or not they can investigate a particular matter. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading these numbers wrong. They all make sense. The numbers make sense, right? So out of 1,890, they addressed 267. Again, that makes sense. About 12.9%. So get this. It's 23 cases per month. That's 6 cases per week. Okay? Their operating budget for 2023 was $1.15 million. Well, in simple math, that means that it cost $4,300 approximately to address each of those cases. $4,300. Wow. It's staggering that only 12.9% of those cases were actually, they addressed them in one way or another. I don't really know what they mean by they addressed or how it got resolved by the WSIB. But what really strikes a nerve with me is that 4 areas that they look at within their mandate, and they rejected 34,000 complaints. And yet they spent $1.15 million a year. I believe their staff are 8 or 9 people at a cost of $4,300 to help 267 people in 1 year. So let's really take a holistic look at this whole system. We have an organization that was set up to support injured workers and help manage claims, to provide loss of earnings benefits and permanent impairment awards and return to work services for those who were able to return to work in some capacity. That's their job. Their mandate is very clear within the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, the Workers' Compensation Act before then, and the prior pre-1990 acts. You have case managers making decisions. So above the case managers, these are their leadership people. I don't know what the fuck they do half the time, because they're so top heavy, it's ridiculous in terms of leadership. So they got managers who oversee case managers. They have directors who oversee managers and case managers. Okay? They have over 22 vice presidents who oversee the whole gamut. This whole major clusterfuck. They have a chief operating officer who's supposed to oversee this as well, and the president and all that. And then they have a board of directors, right, with the chairman. And then the Minister of Labor. And then they have the Workplace Safety and Insurance Appeals Tribunal, who have to render decisions based on decisions made by the WSIB. You have their own appeal services division. You have the Ontario Ombudsman. That's an Ontario Ombudsman is supposed to oversee all government agencies and ministries within the provincial government. And then they throw into the whole gamut this group of people calling themselves the Fair Practices Commission, who are supposed to try and ensure that injured workers' issues are being handled with fairness, in a fair manner, right? That's the whole thing. Yet, they reject 34,000 which represents 78% of the request, or 88% of the request for service over the last 24 years, and they spent all this money claiming that they're helping injured workers, that that's what their purpose is, their mandate. Really? Like, of all of these different fucking groups and people and all of this that are supposed to keep this in check, keep people in line, the decision makers, the case managers, because that's where it all starts. It's with the case managers, right? Everybody else is supposed to try and, figure shit out for these people, keep them in line, make sure they're doing the right job, right? You got all of these people, and then you got to have a Fair Practices Commission. So, to be fair, and totally transparent, and to remain open-minded, I thought, okay, well, let me check the system. Let me check it out to see what they actually do. If they stand for if they actually believe in what they stand for and they deliver on their promise. That's what I wanted to do. So I had two cases, two members of my company. And I asked both of them, I thought, yeah, this would be an opportunity to have your situation addressed by these people. Mind you, we had already gone through case managers and directors with the reconsideration process, Section 121 of the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act. So we followed the whole process all the way up the ladder as it's laid out within the law. We didn't step outside of the law. We used the system that has been set up by these people, right? Reconsideration of the case manager, of the director. Then we went to the VP when nobody was replying or providing answers. Then we went to the chief operating officer, and he was a fucking joke. He never even responded, right? This is a guy who started as a case manager all the way to chief operating officer, couldn't be bothered to respond to a letter, right? Then we went to the president, Jeff Lang, who doesn't know shit about dealing with claims. He has no clue what he's doing, in my opinion. This is my opinion, okay? And I have plenty of information and stats to demonstrate that, right? My opinion, Jeff Lang, right? Now, that didn't happen. So where did we go? We went to Grant Walsh, who's the chairman, right? Grant Walsh couldn't be bothered to respond either. He didn't do shit. Then we went to the Minister of Labor. The Minister of Labor had they responded. They said, yes, we've received it was 30 plus pages of meticulously drafted with timelines, correspondence. What were the results? Did they reply? If they didn't reply, why not? If they did reply, did they address the issues? It was pathetic. But anyway, all of it was there, right? In chronological order. Deputy Minister said, you did a great job, laid it out very well. Yeah. This matter would be more appropriate to be addressed by the Fair Practices Commission. So we made those submissions to the Fair Practices Commission and had all kinds of, feedback. Oh yeah, no, it was very clear. The submissions were meticulously done. It was chronological. It was easy to understand, right? But it doesn't meet our mandate. On both cases, very identical in terms of the process that was used. two different pieces of legislation. In one case, I was dealing with Bill 99, so it fell under the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act. In one case, it was a pre-1990 case. Treated the same way, right? And both of them came back, yep, we don't see that there was an issue of fairness. It doesn't meet our mandate, right? I thought, wow, I really, to be honest, expected that they would have at least made some sort of an attempt, but no. So I wrote a letter to the commissioner and I expressed my concerns. And it was I thought, a well-articulated opinion based on what had transpired. And Mr. O'Leary decided that he wanted to make it a personal thing with me. Big mistake. That's not what you want to fucking do. You want to get on my bad side, you're not going to get a good report from me. I'm going to uncover every little fucking rock that you crawled under. And I'm going to make sure that this is now about you and your leadership, because it's not about me. I helped two members file a complaint based on the 4 criteria that they established and provided numerous instances where each of those 4 criteria had been disregarded by WSIB staff. But you know what? When you address somebody directly in that manner, they go into self-preservation mode, which is, in another way, let me try and protect my own ass and save my own job because that's all that I'm interested in. Not a very good approach. You had an opportunity to address the matter and explain it in a even if you basically just sided with your investigator, which you did, you could have just said, yeah, I don't agree that these issues fall within our mandate for investigating. And then they were supposed to do a letter to the member to explain all of that. Never happened. Never happened. This is almost 2 months ago. So, my friends, now I can basically discuss the cases that I helped with, that I supported 2 members and helped them to draft their complaint, to articulate their situation in a manner that could demonstrate the WSIB's failings in their cases. And but they never received anything from the Fair Practices Commission. So we did that. Now I can speak freely based on those experiences that I think it's a sham. Meanwhile, in the 2 commissioners now, the commissioner prior to Ronan O'Leary, Tom Barber, who had been the commissioner up until 2022, this is what he stated in his last annual report. Our goal is to resolve issues as quickly and as efficiently as possible. In essence, we are a free, informal, and fast avenue for issue resolution. Really? Yeah, I don't think so. And this was regurgitated by the new commissioner that was installed back in 2022, Ronan O'Leary, who basically stated in his annual report, and you can read the annual reports, they're there for anybody to review. And he states, the commission's most important function is to provide an avenue to resolve individual issues quickly and informally. fucking joke. I think one of my viewers put it best when I released my first video on this subject matter. This viewer stated in a comment, the Fair Practices Commission was created to create the illusion of accountability. It has no power to help injured workers. It can only complain up the chain and hope that someone along the way fixes the mistakes. I want to thank my viewer for that profound statement and insight, because that is exactly what I believe. And this statement and insight had been made prior to my doing more research with this organization and going through the process with 2 members. So, take what you will from this episode. In my opinion, they're useless. They are just another step to delay the process. I don't believe that they can claim to deliver on what they promise. And I believe that their statements on their website are misleading to injured workers, and that they're providing false hope. Those are my opinions based on my research and my experiences in having dealt with this organization. As for the 2 members that we are dealing with, they are now with the Ontario Ombudsman, and they have been investigating. The Ombudsman has been investigating the matter for about 3 weeks now. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but they were very interested in knowing why the Fair Practices Commission never bothered to send either of those members a letter to at least explain that they weren't going to address the matter, what they'd done, how they came to that conclusion. So, make of it what you will, my friends. But as I said before, I do separate the facts from fiction, truth from bullshit in plain English. And I think I've done that here. All right. I look forward to the next one. And I've got a lot more content coming up. Other interesting topics. If you're not a subscriber, I invite you to become a subscriber. It's free. There's a lot of people in this province who need help. We have had, over the past 2 years, well over 50,000 views. We're over 600 subscribers, and just tons of people just looking for help. If you need help with your claim, we just launched our preferred legal provider network. And we also just recently launched our special action team to deal with PTSD and mental health claims. All right, my friends, you can watch those 2 videos just prior to this one. And as always, and until the next one, take care.